Anyway, here come the two teams this afternoon, led by the referee, Mr. Miller, and his assistants, Mr. O'Brien and Mr. Cooper. And Brentford will line up as follows this afternoon. David Button in goal, Mozart Abejo is the right back, Jake Bidwell is the left back, Harley Dean and James Stokowski in the centre. Just ahead of them in a 4-2-3-1, Jonathan Douglas and Tamani de Braga. Potter on the right, Dallas on the left, Pritchard in the centre and Andre Gray out front. On the bench for Brentford, Jack Bonham, Tony Craig, Sam Saunders, John Trow, Tommy Smith, Nico Yanaris and Chris Long, the debutants. For Norwich this afternoon, they're also going to switch formation to a 4-2-3-1. John Ruddy is in goal, Russell Martin's the right back, Martin Olsen's the left back, Michael Turner and Carlos Quayler are the centre back, Stephen Whittaker and Bradley Johnson just ahead of them, Nathan Redmond on the right, Gary Hooper drops back to play just behind the striker, and Carl Lafferty on the left, and that striker will be Cameron Jerome. On the bench for them, Declan Rudd, Lewis Grabban, Wes Houlihan, Elliot Bennett, who was on loan to Brighton, Josh Murphy, Sebastian Basson and Connor McGrandle. So, they're really trying to get behind their team here. We're underway. There's Cameron Jerome on this left hand side just in front of us. Tamani with his first touch. Olsen heads it forward. Here's Hotter. Nice header by Adebayo. It's picked up by Olsen again. Heads it out towards Lafferty. The ball spins inside to Whittaker. Whittaker normally plays right back, of course, Scottish international as well. He plays out to Redmond, who's the pace man on the right hand side. He's going to take on Bidwell, 15 yards outside the box on the byline. Plays the ball inside to Johnson, then back to Lafferty again. Brentford break that up, and they win a throw. Positive start, Dave.
Very, very positive start, yeah. I mean, really lining up there in sort of two banks of five when it kicked off, weren't they? It was quite regimented.
Well, they have changed their formation to play Brentford today. Instead of having four in the midfield and two up front, they've gone with the two holding players. Here's Brentford going through. Here's Andre Gray. He's onside. He can make this one. Here's Andre. He's guiding. He's shanked it over the bar. He's looking at the ground as if it took a bounce. Norwich all looking at each other in defence. They thought he was offside. Dave, that is a shocking miss.
It is a shocking miss, Mark, but I honestly believe that took a horrible bounce.
Let's have a look at it again now. We've seen the action replay here. The ball is bounced. Well, no, sorry, Dave. We've been too generous to him there.
You think so?
Yeah. We're looking at it again now. No, can't give him that.
Lean back.
Can't give him that. He's looking at the ground. That was a horrible miss, and he's missed it by miles.
Yeah.
David Button gets the ball from Harley. Harley gets it back to Button. Not sure he really wanted it that quickly. Good defending here, though. Adebayo, and it looked like a foul on him for a Lafferty. Left his foot in there. So the referee's happy with that one. They take the throw quickly. Here's Lafferty's level of the penalty area on this left-hand side, just in front of us. Nice touch by Johnson to Hooper. Hooper plays it back inside, looking for Whittaker. Whittaker, as I said before, if you're just joining us, he's moved up to that holding defensive role today instead of playing right back, where Russell Martin is, of course. Russell Martin, Scottish international. Had over 100 games for Wickham, Dave. That's
yeah.
A lot of people think a lot of these players have just been stars all their lives. You know, a lot of them have come through the ranks. You look at this Derby Central defenders, Buxton in particular. They're playing for Mansfield. They've come through the ranks, these players, and a lot of them have almost been journeyman pros.
Yeah. I mean, look at the current England goalkeeper, Joe Hart. You know. Shrewsbury he was at.
Brentford get the ball down the right hand side. It's headed away and by Quayler. I think the Bees fans are still talking amongst themselves about that miss. It is Hotter nearly taken down twice. Referee, does the right thing. Hotter says, okay, I'll have that foul. The referee said, I was trying to play advantage, but Brentford take it quickly. Here's Pritchard, 15 yards outside the box, plays it to the right wing to Odebeja. Odebeja back inside Pritchard, a little bit of space, takes one touch, plays it to the far post, a good ball inside, it's headed away by Norwich. But Brentford look to pick it up here with Tamani Diagrago, who leaves it for Tarkowski. Poor ball forward, picked up by Whittaker. He shows too much of it. Snipped off him by Pritchard. Lovely ball to Pritchard to Dallas. Dallas edge of the box. Not quite quick enough, but the ball's played back towards the keeper, Ruddy. And Brentford have picked it up. Brentford, Brighton. Bright start here, Dave.
It's all Brentford, isn't it? It really is. We've got them on the back foot here. Let's just see if we can make this pressure tell.
Switching the ball quickly. The ball's out with Dallas on the far left-hand side. Now you can hear the Brentford fans away to our left. Now it's a nice ball inside it to Bidwell. Now he's great place inside. Here's Hosse, can't quite get to it. Really good block comes in at the back there. Great defending by Olsen. It's away from Brentford corner.
Yeah, I really think these Norwich fans now realise they're in for a game here because we're really playing some smart football.
What a bright start from Brentford. Should be ahead, of course, if you are just joining us. An absolute horror miss from Andre Gray. One-on-one with the keeper. That said too much time on 2 minutes, but that was brilliant. Bidwell involved. Graham, the ball just played inside to Hotter. A great challenge by Olsen comes over. Now, up goes the right arm for this corner that's whipped in. It's headed away up into the air and, well, looked there as if the keeper, Ruddy, had lost it in the sun for one time. Really? But he got it in the end. He's rolled it out quickly to Redmond. Redmond switches the ball out to Hooper. Great pass to Hooper. On his left foot, goes for goal. Good save by David Button, and it's away for a corner. Good end-to-end football from Norwich. Route 1, but nearly effective.
Yeah, it was really route 1, wasn't it? Big long ball up to Hooper. Hooper took on David Button, but David Button was equal to it at his near post.
Yeah, really good move there by Norwich. This is a great start because this is what we're expecting in the game, Dave.
Yeah, I mean it's going to look good on the Championship show tonight, isn't it? It's two really good footballing teams going for it.
Whittaker will take the corner on this near side. Up goes the right arm. It's drilled away from goal. They're appealing for a penalty there. Johnson right in the referee's face. Referee unimpressed.
Where Russell Martin pushed Jake Bidwell just before the ball was kicked. Just pushed him in the back, pushed him over.
Ball played down the right side. That's onside there, but Bidwell's done his job and Bidwell wins the throw. And well, Johnson's in the referee's face again here. That's Bradley Johnson all over. Of course, he's been a journeyman pro. He's had a number of clubs throughout his career. He's over 350 games in all. All the time at Northampton, but he's knocking the goals in as well this season.
Yeah, he has. I don't know what he had to complain about there, to be quite honest.
I think a lot of it is psychology. They just try and get at the ref and put doubt in his mind. And you hear players coming out with those comments these days. Brentford now breaking down the far side. Here is Andre Gray, level with the penalty area. Gets it back to the Pritchard. Pritchard, edge of the box, going down towards the byline. Cuts it back inside. It's brilliant. And the shot comes in from Dallas. That's over the bar. That could have been a goal as well. He switched feet beautifully, got it on his right foot, and that's gone a yard over the bar. Dave, we could be 2 up.
Yeah, I mean, making all these chances, Mark, we've got to be sort of at least hitting the target, haven't we? We haven't actually tested John Ruddy yet.
You took the words out of my mouth, Dave. Let's work the goalkeeper. Yeah. Let's hit the target. Bright start from Brentford, though. I think they'll be surprised by the bright start from Brentford. There's Douglas. Look at that ball to Pritchard. And Pritchard into the box. Here's Gray. Cannot quite get past Martin Olsen. It's been impressive so far. But great football from Brentford, and Pritchard's skill levels, well,
Yeah, I mean,
just getting better and better.
He trapped that ball and turned and moved all in one sort of beautiful sort of flowing movement, didn't he? Almost didn't look like he controlled it at all. He just looked like he turned and ran onto it.
Here's Martin. Martin across to Turner. Wraps his foot around it, gets good distance downfield. Nice touch back by Harley Dean. Then in goes Diagaraga to win the ball back, and he does really well, the Brentford midfielder, and just plays it all the way back to David Button with the outside of his boot. And the Norwich fans are trying to get behind their team. Here's Johnson. Johnson, a lot of space in the midfield. Chips it out to the far side to Nathan Redmond. Level with a penalty area, trying to take on Bidwell. Going down towards the byline. Great cross in the box, and Buttons there. Looked as if he overstretched for a second, but he knew what he was doing, and he rolls it out quickly to Pritchard. It's end-to-end stuff here. You wouldn't think we're in the first 15 minutes of the game. Here's Pritchard. He's gone about 30 yards. Tries to play out to the right-hand side to Hotter, but Olsen is there first. And it's picked up by Michael Turner, who'd advanced a few yards. There's Martin on the far side, the captain. Plays it inside to Johnson. Johnson seeing the run of Cameron Jerome. Tarkowski going with him. Jerome into the box. On the far side is Hooper. Here is Cameron Jerome just teasing. Plays it back to Olsen. Olsen whips it to the far post. Too much weight on it. And it's going to be picked up right in front of the Brentford fans by Redmond on that far side. There's a dummy there that really, by Russell Martin, nearly got punished, and they've lost their way. Ball over the top by Whittaker, picked up by Button. Brentford looking very comfortable, Dave. Well, they've sent the subs out to warm up already, as Alex Neil, so maybe that'll tell you he's not too pleased with his own troop start. There's Harley Dean just took a heavy touch. He's got to get back in position quickly. Throwing comes back to Hooper. Hooper to Jerome. Jerome now back to Olsen. Olsen will try and take on Hotter. Hotter does well. He's going with him, but Olsen's got too much place. Plays the ball in the box on the far post. Great header away by Bidwell. Just ahead of Redmond, and Dallas takes the ball too easily for Norwich fans. Off Russell Martin, plays it downfield, and well done Stuart Dallas. He's turned defence into attack as Brentford have won a throw well up the pitch. Pritchard to Dean, 10 yards inside the Norwich half. Pritchard again, just turns and gets it back to Alderbage. Has to get goal side again. And Brentford just holding possession here. A lot of space for Tarkowski, who can now come over the halfway and gets his head down. Harley Dean stays back to Martin, makes himself available on the left, but he's played a good ball through. Has James Tarkowski to Pritchard. Pritchard 15 yards outside the box. Andre Gray makes a run, but it's well read there by Michael Turner. And Norwich can bring the ball away. A good ball played down the centre to Hooper, but Brentford are straight onto him through Mozart Abeja and Tamani Diagaraga and win it back again. More murmurs from the Norwich crowd.
Yeah, this is what we like, Mark.
Good ball down the right side. Oh, lovely touch inside by Dallas. Can he get to the next ball? He switches. Comes to Douglas. Will he try a shot edge of the box? He's gone wide where he should have had a go once again. And it looked as if the ball might have come up and hit Michael Turner's hand. A few Brentford fans appealing. What do you make of that, Dave?
Well, he certainly seemed to make a move with his hand towards the ball. We've seen the action replay here.
Well, Jonathan Douglas could have had a go. Well, it was played against him. I think it hit him in the midriff. Nothing we can consider ourselves unlucky about there. We showed that one on the action replay, but great touch by Dallas. Once again, Jonathan Douglas had an opportunity to shoot just outside the box and chose to pass instead. Probably wasn't the right option. Now, here's Hooper against Dean. This is dangerous. He's isolated here. Ball played back inside. Bit of space here for Whittaker. Whittaker edge of the box.
Now, it's a totally different sort of fans forum this evening, I have to tell you, because it's not just the people here. It's on Twitter, it's on Facebook, it's live down that tube there. So the people sitting on Bondi Beach at the moment could be watching us in the freezing cold here in London. We hope you're enjoying it in Australia and everywhere else, which is warm in midsummer. But we are feeding questions from across the world. And we are going to ask you initially to limit you each to one question. One question each, not one on the floor, but just one question each. However, I do strongly believe the fact you put yourselves out, you're here on a very cold evening, you can ask as many questions as you like. But there are questions coming from Twitter and Facebook. Also, if you're latecomers, don't make a big thing of it, but good evening. Thanks so much for coming straight in front of the camera. Sorry about that, something coming in late, okay? Need to understand. I'm sure everybody here knows the dream team, but we will go through it. We start from the right. Chief Executive Mark Devlin. Our chairman, I remember his name this year, Cliff Crown. Also our manager, Mark Warburton. Our sporting director, Frank McParland. And assistant manager, David Weir. Okay, I'm going to set some questions from the floor, so if somebody like to start, we'd have the microphone. Sean will pass the microphone to you, so hopefully everybody can hear the questions and hopefully the answers as well. So somebody have a question from the floor? It always happens this way. Oh, we got one from the floor, excellent. Thank goodness you're here.
I'm handing the mic out. Once it's out, then if you could pass it to each other, that'd be brilliant, please.
That's just exactly what I said a moment ago, so okay, lovely, thanks everybody.
Hello, I know it's not exact science, but how does our budget and money we have available to spend on players compared to the rest of the championship teams?
Good start. If anyone asking a question, if they could just say their name first, that would be great. There are no official figures until after the season ends, when the accounts are prepared and submitted to the Football League. But what we can say is that by talking to people in and around football, our budget is certainly in the lower reaches of the championship, as most of you would expect. There's a number of clubs obviously benefiting from parachute payments, who are naturally spending a lot more money, and just anecdotally I can just tell you, because I had the conversation on Saturday with the chairman of Norwich. I'm quite sort of upfront with a lot of chairmen, so I said, tell me, what's your playing budget this year? And we all know that chairmen don't necessarily give you the full story, and I can tell you, if anyone ever asks me what our playing budget is, I always give them a figure a few million less than it is. And he said it was 26 million. So that's a lot more money than we spend. There'll be others at the lower end of division. So teams like Rotherham, I know, don't spend a huge amount. But then there are others like Wigan and Brighton that spend a fair amount. I think last year Brighton's playing costs were 20 million. So although I know they brought that down. So it's we think we're in the sort of lower half. Mark, you've probably got a even better idea than me of those kind of numbers.
Not really, if I'm honest. I think we have to look at the likes of Blackburn Rovers, Derby County, Middlesbrough. These are huge clubs. So we have to expect to be in the lower third, I would have thought, of the table in terms of budget, but that's just to be expected.
Thank you, Cliff. Thank you, Mark. I've got a question here from Leonard Wright, and this is for Frank McParland. Says we're talking about social media tonight, in fact Twitter, Facebook and everything else. Do we get frustrated, or do you get frustrated with social media following you around the world, including Austria? So everyone knows where and who you're talking to, and what used to be secret negotiations and deals fail once high profile or wealthier clubs become aware. It does seem to be an open secret now. Whatever you do with social media, everybody knows where you are, indeed where everybody is.
Yeah, the main thing, we always try and do our work undercover, if you like, so you never see anything from the club coming out to say we're looking at any particular player. I've never done that,
you know, in my career at all, bragging about being in the country and looking for certain players. So I keep it very, very quiet, as does the gaffer, and you know, when him and David go out as well, we never tell anyone who we're looking at or where we're going, what we're spending. We keep our business very much in-house, which is the professional way to do it, we think. But obviously we can't control the other clubs, we can't control agents who are trying to get more money for the players, and sometimes you actually end up in an auction, other clubs end up in an auction. When we do our business, we try and do it very straightforward, no auction. If it starts an auction, we generally drop out. There's a lot of players out there that we know about, there's a lot of good players that we think we can bring to our club, and you know, we're not going to get into a situation where we're going to spend too much money on the wrong player. You know, if it does get into an auction where there's 3 or 4 clubs at it, you're always best dropping out, I think. But we know we have targets that we look at, we work really hard to get them, and we try and do our work very, very quietly.
Thank you, Frank. Question from the floor? Okay, right. Aaron VFC De Costa, the question here says, what's the latest with regards to a new deal for Jonathan Douglas?
Thank you for that one. Same comment really. Dougie's been made a good offer. He knows what we think of him as a player, what the club think of him, all of the staff, Frank all the way down, the ball clip, etc. So we've made that very clear. He's performing exceptionally well for us week in, week out, and he's the type of guy that wants to focus on his football. So we made the offer to him, and we hope very much we can come quickly to an agreement. And Frank will talk to the various agents involved, and we hope we can get to where we want to be. But right now, he's focused on his football and performing very well.
And Mark, following off on that, another one from Freddie Harron Claude says, what's the chance of making the Pritchard loan deal permanent?
It's probably one for Frank, I would think, but Pritchard is a very, very clever player, performing very well week in, week out. He's 21 years of age, and I doubt very much any club would let that type of asset go on a permanent basis.
Yeah, pretty much we're trying to bring young, talented players in from the big clubs, and it's great for us because we're getting a fantastic player. You know, it's great for them that they can send their player and they trust the player when they come to us. So we speak to Tottenham every week about his progress, as we do with Terrell. We speak to Arsenal every week about the progress of the players. It's important, you know, the brand of football that we play is, I think it's an incredible brand of football, and it's down to the gaffer and the staff that work every single day on this, what they do. It's, you know, it's a joy to watch training, and I've never been. So it is easier for us now to attract players. You know, David's got a great relationship with Everton, as Wolves has also. So we asked along. We think Long is a fantastic prospect. Could probably play for Everton. Maybe this time next year, maybe in 18 months. So they're lending us in. They know, they trust the manager, they trust David, they trust the work that we're doing every single day with them. But on the downside is, because they do so well when they come here, it's then difficult to buy them, because obviously if, you know, would you sell Pritchard if you were at Tottenham? Certainly I wouldn't sell Pritchard, but if I was there. So that's the downside of it. But all we can do is, you know, we have a formula here now where we'll bring the young players in and they'll be coached in the correct way, in the way we want to play football at Brentford, and you know, long may that continue.
Thank you, Frank. Any questions on the floor? Yes, one over there.
Hi, yeah, it's Kieran. Is there any update about playing at Griffin Park if we got to the Premier League, and any talks that's been going on?
If I can ally that as well, just a couple of questions here before we pass to Mark. One was from Mark Brown saying, what's the likely chance that if we get promoted we can stay at Griffin Park and don't have to ground share? And another one from Michael Johnson saying, if we do get to the Premier League, will Griffin Park be made eligible Premier League stadium? And when Lana Road is built, will it have a safe standing zone? So there may be 2 or 3 people who can answer that question for us. Mark.
The stated position of the club is that we would like to stay at Griffin Park if we were fortunate enough to get promoted. and we've already submitted a form. Alan Walsh, our ops manager, is here today. He submitted a form. We had until tomorrow to get it into the Premier League, which gives them an outline of where we are currently and what we would, or what we're able to do to get anywhere near Premier League criteria. So, first and foremost, we would like to try and make it happen at Griffin Park, and that's our stated position. However, we do need to be aware that there's an awful lot. We probably wouldn't be able to meet the Premier League criteria fully in pretty much all of the aspects, just the nature of the ground, but I think we're in a position to show the Premier League that we would be very willing to upgrade floodlights, things like the changing areas. We'd probably have to do some work to the pitch. The biggest challenge, you may disagree, Alan, from the floor, but for me is probably the media requirements of the Premier League in terms of TV gantries, number of TV positions, things like that would be very challenging, and the type of wiring we need to put into the stadium. So a challenge, but we kind of are aware of what we need to do. And the biggie, of course, as well as the pitch, is obviously the first requirement that the Premier League had told us, which was that they'd really like the stadium to be all-seater. I can only speak personally here, but I would hope to be in a position that if we could meet and get close to some of the other criteria, that we would have a strong case for doing nothing to the ground in terms of seating, and that with a new stadium, you know, sort of 2 or 3 years away, that we could get away with terracing for the rest of Griffin Park's future. So that's all for discussion. We have had discussions with several stadia and clubs. I don't mind telling you which ones they are. So we've spoken to Wembley, and Wembley have given us a magnificent amount of money that they'd like us to pay them each year to play there. A frightening amount of money, but as with all options, I will explore it, but it's not one that I think that too many of us sat on this part of the table here think is a realistic option. The usual suspects, dare I say them, Fulham, Queen's Park Rangers, have both said to us that they're willing to enter into dialogue, but QPR, for instance, have got issues with their pitch currently, so they are very concerned about the pitch, and let's be honest, there's a PR issue there for them. If we were playing there and we were Premier League and they were in the Championship, that'd be a massive PR issue for them. I don't know, that will make Peter happy there, so I thought I'd get in with that one, Peter. And the other club I've spoken to is Reading, and Reading are also willing to look at an option, but clearly Reading have an issue because they already have tenants in London Irish, so nothing is straightforward. So to recap, the hope is to stay at Griffin Park. It would require a fair amount of work. We would need to get the Premier League on board, but as a backstop we have spoken to a number of other clubs. And just to say that we have spoken to people like Chelsea, Twickenham, Harlequins. They've all ruled themselves out of being able to ground share, so they've been spoken to and as I say, ruled themselves out. In terms of safe standing, I don't know whether it's something that Chris would want to take up. Safe standing at Lionel Road, Chris.
Yeah, we'd love to offer safe standing at Lionel Road. As it stands at the moment, the football regulations would have to change. So we, like other clubs, would need to see that change before we could offer safe standing. But we have done a study, and we would be able to accommodate safe standing in the home fans' end behind the goal at Lionel Road if the regulations change.
Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you very much, Mark. Cliff?
Just one comment, which is that if we were fortunate to go up and choose to stay here, the capacity would reduce. And I think, Alan, you said it would be 10 to 10.5?
That's if we go all seaters.
Right.
That's if we go down the sheet route, but as Mark alluded to, if we can maintain terraces, then we would probably maybe 500-600 reduce because of broadcast minutes.
So I'd just like to throw open to the floor whether anyone's got any idea about what kind of attendance we might expect. So if we had the option to be somewhere that could take, say, 15, 17, 18,000. Anyone got a feeling for how many people you think might come?
Where it's progressing, you're looking at sort of another 10-20% every year compared to 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's something. Yeah,
Can we just say then, just as a show of hands, really, an idea? I mean, would people be looking 15,000 plus? Just a show of hands, if you think so. 18,000 plus?
In the Premier League.
Yeah, in the Premier League, I'm talking about. 20,000? Okay, between 18 and 20, then.
Thank you. That's very interesting.
Sorry, if you could take the microphone, just in fairness to everybody, thank you.
If you keep sensible pricing, then certainly you get 20,000 in the Premier League easily, because there's a lot of parents who can't get kids into Arsenal and so on, either because they can't get in or because they can't afford it. And of course it'll be more expensive than you charge in the Championship, but as long as you don't go to the Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham level of pricing, I think for a season or two at least, you would easily get 20,000 in London in the Premiership.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's very, very helpful feedback. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. The gentleman there with the microphone.
Can I sort of carry on with the ground front? And I want
Just have your name, sorry.
Steve Clark. And one of the sort of things about Griffin Park is that it's got a fantastic atmosphere. When you get 11 or 12,000 people in there, it's cracking. And when you go and watch some of these away grounds, they seem a bit sort of soulless. And well, not necessarily Norwich. It was 26,000 was pretty good. But if you go up to Huddersfield and places like this, or even Millwall, it's not what it used to be. So the question is really, I think one of the issues is really the fact that the pitch is sometimes too far away from where the supporters are. And if we are thinking of ground sharing, perhaps with a rugby team, are we compromising, if you like, on atmosphere in order to get the extra income if we move to Lionel Road? Or when we moved to Lionel Road, which was the second part of the question, was basically how close are we now to getting that all basically tied up?
Well, Chris can certainly take the second part of that question. Would you like to talk about that? You can pass the microphone to Chris. Thank you very much, Kurt.
In terms of moving to Lionel Road, I suppose any new stadium's a compromise in that Lionel Road is a tight site. For those of you who've seen the models, seen the planning, it's a tight site. So we've come up with a quite an unusual design, which we've got 2 pinch points in the corners, which means that we have about, I think, 10 rows of seats in the corners where those 2 pinch points are. Obviously, it's a compromise between trying to fit 20,000 in, which was the owner's absolute minimum requirement, 20,000 capacity at Lionel Road, which means you have to have a certain size of stand, and obviously not losing the atmosphere. So I'm pleased to say that the pitch dimensions are slightly bigger at Lionel Road, but not hugely. Our stand length is 120 metres by 80. So standard pitch is 105 metres. So we've got about 7 metres at each end. That includes advertising, hoardings, etc. And what is it, 68 across? He says, looking at the football team. So that's 12 metres, that's what, 6 metres from the first row of seats, as it were, along the touchlines, which is pretty tight. So interestingly, I went to look at West Ham's plans the other day. If you're sitting on the halfway line in the front row at West Ham in the Olympic Stadium, you're 18 metres from the touchline. So I'm pleased to say we will not have that type of arrangement. We've also had acoustic studies done on the stadium, and to ensure that when the crowd make a noise, it is a good atmosphere. So I think we're fairly pleased with what we expect will be the atmosphere. We're just going to get you guys to shout a lot.
And they do. Billy at the back. Just take the microphone first, Billy. Sorry.
Hello, just going to make a quick point because we're talking about the stadium as well here. We sort of have done a couple of surveys this week. They're only sort of finger in the air surveys just to get a vibe from fans. I think the surveys came off the back of the fact that obviously when we went to Norwich we were charged quite a lot of money, which we were quite upset with. A lot of people telling us that we shouldn't be upset with paying £35 to watch football. We thought it was quite extortionate. And there's just a few interesting points, because obviously when we went to Norwich and we looked there, we saw the stadium, lovely stadium, not much atmosphere. You know, certain things that we thought, ooh, we'd be really worried if Brentford actually kind of went up a level, and we actually ended up sort of emulating what was happening here at Norwich. So we, like I said, we did a couple of surveys, and one of the surveys was, and somebody just pointed out here, that Griffin Park's obviously got a really great USP, the fact that a lot of teams hate coming here. It obviously, you know, probably gets us a few more points because it's a great, tight, fantastic atmosphere at Griffin Park. And obviously when you see places like Norwich, they didn't have that. So we're thinking, if hypothetically we went up to the Premier League this season, or maybe next season, and we just sort of threw it out there saying, you know, would you prefer to stay here or go elsewhere? And if you were to go elsewhere, would you be prepared to pay almost like a premium to stay at Griffin Park? And the survey so far has come up that people are actually quite happy to pay a slight premium, as to put their prices up to sort of witness Brentford playing at least a season in Griffin Park before they moved elsewhere, which I thought was quite interesting. So they, you know, their season ticket price maybe 15, 16, 17 pounds now, but they were willing to pay up to 5, 6, 7, 8 pounds to actually witness, on their season ticket prices, to witness Brentford playing here, and possibly, you know, Man United coming down to Griffin Park and experiencing the dressing rooms and all this kind of stuff, which again we just think is quite interesting, which may, you know, it's good to throw into the pot. And it's very good also that you're talking about the idea that if we manage to swing that, we'd still have terracing at Griffin Park, which is an enormous USP for us in generating atmosphere as well.
Thank you very much, Billy. Appreciate that.
Yeah, again, very helpful feedback. I think what it proves is there's an awful lot of permutations that we've got to take into account in coming to a final decision. We're all aware that we all want to stay here at Griffin Park. And the only thing I can assure you is that if we go up, money will not dictate where we end up. That is not our God. So we will do the right thing by the club and try and satisfy everybody first and foremost. But it might mean that, as you say, there'll be a slight premium for staying here. We know that's what everybody wants, so we'll be doing everything we can to achieve that.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Billy. Thank you, Cliff. Next question comes from Jerry 0703. And are there any development players who are likely to make their way through to the first team in contention for next season? I'll show to David Weir.
I think it's becoming really difficult. I think in my time here, you know, in the space of a year, the club's really moved forward in regards to the first team level. So I think following on from that, it's become even harder for the development squad to, you know, to catch up and to bridge that gap. So, you know, that jump has become probably bigger now, so it's become more difficult for it to happen. But we have added to the squad, and the lads who have been in the squad have developed as well. We've brought in a new coach in Lee Carsley who's helping that. We've got fitness people and analysts who are also helping that to get them up to the level they need to be, because obviously now we're a championship club, and the, you know, the requirements that go with that are definitely higher. So in regards to naming specific players, I don't think that's right, but all I would say is we've got some players out on loan who are doing well, which is a bridge to, you know, from development football, under 21 football really, to championship football is a big jump. So I think the loan system can help getting that right. We've got a couple of lads at Wickham now who, you know, Courtney's there and getting a little taste of it, and Alfie's been there and playing week in, week out and developing there. We've got lads who are probably ready to go and get a loan and see what the next stage is for them. So it's, you know, probably not answering the question. I'm not giving you names, but it's definitely an area we know that we need to improve on. We need to get local lads ideally, or lads who've been in the system at the club, into the first team, because that's, you know, that's what we all want to see.
Thanks, David. I would take the yes or no. So. Questions to the floor? Lady there. Somebody pass the microphone. Thank you very much.
Hi, it's James. Just wanted to ask about...
That's brilliant. That is absolute quality. If only you could see that in Australia. There's a lady there who threw her voice to the back of the room. Absolute superb. So I missed your name.
Hi, it's James.
Fantastic. And that name's James as well. Now that's thrown me even more. I'll tell you what. We come... No, it wasn't you at all. I'll tell you what, we go to James back at... We go to James now, that's right, Kurt.
Sorry about that.
That's no problem at all. Apologise to the lady, not me.
Just wanted to ask about Will Grigg. I think he's done quite well this season. Is he going to stay on loan for the rest of the season, and does he have a future here?
Tom Lawrence has asked the same question on the on social media. for you, Mark?
Will's done really well. The idea of the loan was to go out and to score goals and play regularly, and Will wasn't happy. No player's happy to sit on the bench week in, week out. I keep being asked, we all keep being asked about players coming in the window, etc., and Will, but we've got players who are playing really well here right now as well. So if Will comes back, he wants to play football, would you be happy to drop Andre Gray right now to accommodate another player coming in? That's the blunt question. So Will went out to play football, he's playing football, he's happy. To bring him back now and stick him on the bench, I don't know what we achieve by doing that. That's my honest opinion.
Thanks, Mark. James.
I'll raise my voice. I'm Joy, actually.
Oh, okay. It's a big journey anyway, so that's good.
Are we set to benefit from the sell-on of Adam Forshaw to Middlesbrough? I.e., was there a sell-on clause?
There was a sell-on clause, but don't necessarily mean that we're going to benefit from it. But we've had, obviously part of the deal was that they have to tell us what the fee is, although it's undisclosed. So I do apologise, but we're going to have to keep the fee undisclosed. But it does mean at the moment we don't benefit from it. But just to assure you, there was a sell-on clause in there.
Okay. Yes, please, Kurt. Thank you very much. Gentleman at the front. Oh, okay. Hello.
Hello. As Brentford have been getting a lot more media coverage and press. How does that make you feel, considering you wanted to be more under the radar?
What's your name? Sorry.
Libby.
Somebody on the top table, hopefully.
Interesting, Libby. I think you get more media. Today was media day, and David and myself, Frank, etc. There's a lot more people in attendance. The game on Saturday is significant, and that naturally increases the size of the interest there. It's about us going about and being little old Brentford. I don't mean that in a bad way at all, but it's very hard. So I mentioned earlier, to come to Griffin Park is hard. If you ask David, who's played at many of the top grounds in the country, to come here is a difficult proposition. The change rooms are small, the pitch is tight, etc., etc. So that little old Brentford under the radar is important to us, but that only lasts for so long. And we've now played, as a Boxing Day, we've played every team, and that weapon that we had, I think, is being diluted. It's still there. It's still hard to say, do you want to go and play Derby, Middlesbrough, or Blackburn Rovers, or play Brentford, Rotherham, or Millwall? It's a different proposition. So we use it as long as we can, but that radar unfortunately disappearing pretty quick, I think, which is good overall.
Thank you, Mark. Another question here. This one's going to be for Frank, and they want to know if there are any signings imminent. Be in transfer deadline in a few days.
As you said before, we always keep our business very close, and you mentioned something here. You mentioned before about social media. If I say we're trying to get Steven Gerrard on loan till the end of the season, that would be all over everywhere. So I don't think, as Warb has said, there's not a lot we need to bring in. Everyone's really happy with the squad, the way they're playing. You've got to, if someone's going to come in, it's got to really affect the first 11. We've got a decent squad. We're really happy with it. So if something comes in, it'd probably surprise all of us at the moment.
Thank you, Frank. Any questions from the floor? Yeah, where you are, Kurt. Yes, gentlemen. We'll come to the back in a moment.
Hi, my name is Domenico. Do you have a strategy to attract more supporters to watch Brentford? Because I'm Italian and I love to watch Brentford. There's a lot of people that advertise Brentford. Nobody knows Brentford in London. I'm talking about foreign people, so I try to advertise. I wonder if you have a marketing strategy. Look at the situation now, you have led the Premier League.
Thank you very much.
Ciao, Domenico. My wife's Italian, that's all I know. It's really quite sad, isn't it? I can say ciao vediamo at the end when you're going, all right? But that's it. Anyway, we do have a marketing strategy, but I have to say we're really invested both in marketing personnel this past year and indeed in a strategy, because we've got for the first time we've got a bona fide marketing budget. Until a couple of years ago, the club didn't really have a marketing budget. It just it said that we had to market, but it didn't actually put any resources against it. But luckily with Matthew's investment, the investment goes deeper than just the team. It allows us to bring in human resources and actually invest in business systems as well. So Kurt Pittman, who recently has joined us, is here again this evening, and Kurt's been responsible for putting together a ticketing and marketing strategy just aimed at fan acquisition, to give it a fancy name, because we've got it. I read on various websites that we don't need to market because we fill the stadium. It's a bit of a misnomer. Even now, we really have to push and push and push to fill Griffin Park. We've still got tickets left for Saturday, for the game against Ipswich on Boxing Day. That sold out a bit quicker, but it still required a degree of marketing, emailing, however it was we were pushing. So it's not straightforward. We're not filling Griffin Park straight away. So we have had to come up with ideas and promotions. Certain areas of the ground are less popular than others. There is no strategy for trying to increase the number of away fans and creating neutral areas. What we want are 3 solid sides of the ground with Brentford fans in it. But a plea from the club is for fans to buy earlier, because it helps us fill those areas that we could have sold probably another 1,500 tickets to Middlesbrough fans this week. If you ask the ticket office, they're inundated with all sorts of requests from Middlesbrough fans, all kinds of very creative lies to try and get tickets. But the system that we've put in place means that we've been able to resist that, because, as I say, we want to fill 3 sides of the ground with Brentford fans. So it's not easy. We're coming from a long way back. Other clubs in the area, other recreation interests have overtaken us in the past 20 odd years, so it's not straightforward. But the type of football that Mark's playing, the type of ownership we have, the buzz that we're creating, which means that we're not quite so much under the radar as we were a year ago, means that fans are coming to the club. But we've got to be very proactive about it. So we do have a strategy. It's multifaceted, and it's built on trying to fill Lionel Road in 3 years' time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
So he kind of stole a bit of my question, but in terms of the fan base outside of, well, really in the UK, how do we as fans sort of engage the club a bit better? In the States, where I recently moved back to, we get the odd championship game, and even less. Like I think Borough's on this weekend, and that's the only game all year long we've had access to see. But we've got a lot of diehard fans who fly back and forth just for matches. But how do we as fans sort of engage with the club a bit better to, sort of, if we can build the base, maybe we get a little more access on the television instead of it always being the Wolves. So how do we, what can we do to make that better?
Just before we answer that, can I just say to the people sitting at home, that guy's come all the way from Italy, that comes all the way from the States to beat the fans for us tonight, and you're sitting at home. That's absolutely brilliant. Thanks for making the effort. That's absolutely brilliant. Mark it if you can again, please. Thank you.
Okay, the reason that the Borough game is live is obviously it's part of the Football League's overseas network. I think we are, actually I put it in my programme notes this weekend, we are live around the world. It's something like 30 countries are taking the game, and that's all part of the Football League's TV media rights that they sell through a third party. If I'm honest with you, bit by bit we're looking first and foremost at trying to put our flag in the area and making sure the people of Hounslow and the surrounding boroughs adopt Brentford and give up their other clubs and come and support the team. Then we can start looking at building our international fan base, and we are very aware of, but funny enough, of both Italian groups and guys from the US who are interested in Brentford. So a lot of what we can do with B's Player through the internet to try and open up access to the club, that's clearly, we've got a lot of work to do there. Some of that is limited by the central contract that the Football League have. But I think B's Player and being able to, we've got a really good, I think, team of media and communications guys now looking at creative ways of spreading, I hate calling it a brand, but spreading the name of the football club around the world. But I have to say, first and foremost, my priority is to get the people locally, in our local community, solidly behind the club.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you, gentlemen. Got a question here from Martin Longman. He asked when can we expect to see Lewis McLeod, and maybe just we can add to that just the news or the updates on some of our injuries. Mark.
I'll pass the microphone to David Weir, but David had a massive input in securing a talented player like Lewis. So Lewis is a Rangers diehard fan, and obviously David Weir's reputation at the club is very significant. So it's important to highlight the role that people like David and Frank play in drawing in the young players. It's a tough place to come. We're competing for many other clubs to get their services, so it's testament to Frank and David in that respect. But I'll pass that question over.
I think that's a really good point from Mark in regards to getting people like Lewis here. I think that's testament to how far we've come as a football club. And in my opinion, to get that deal done. I spoke earlier about getting deals done, being in the media and being in the public domain. That deal was done before the window had actually opened, and Frank takes great credit for getting that deal done. It's we seem like we're having a quiet window, but we've got one player in before it really opened. That's really important and a great way to do business. And to get a level of player like that in a competitive market, I think is a good sign of where we are and how far we've come. But Lewis he's came injured, we knew he was injured. He's probably still 2-3 weeks away from playing, but potentially he's going to be a very good player for him. He's really happy to be here. He had a choice, a number of clubs where he could go. I think he sees the potential in Brentford. I think he sees the style of football that the manager advocates, and the level of sort of detail we go into on and off the pitch. And I think again that tells you how far we've come. And he sees the vision that's been sold to him from Frank and from Mark and from Matthew, the owner, as well, in regards to where we want to go. So I think Lewis he's a really good example of the type of player we want to be here, the type of player that we want to attract to the club and where our club is now. So it's been a big team effort, and allied to the players we brought in previously in the summer, the Andres and the Moses and the James Tarkovskis before that. We really are bringing talented players here at a good age. We've got potential to go on and be great players for Brentford for a long period to come.
Can we just touch on just the injury? The players are actually out at the moment. Just sort of any progress on?
Yeah, again, you don't like putting time frames on in regards to how long players are going to be out, because we want them back ready and we want them back when they're going to stay in the team. So the medical department worked very hard on that, and the managers never puts time limits on it. He just wants it to be a case of when they're ready, and hopefully when they do come back, stay back and they stay in the team and they affect the team. We don't want players coming back before they're ready and putting them under pressure in regards to there's a time scale on it. I think it's important we get them back when they're ready. It'll be a matter of weeks, I think, rather than days, but hopefully not too long.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Mark. One for you, Cliff. If this is from Jack Brook, and he asks, how we benefited, if at all, so far from our link with FC Midtjylland, and how might we benefit in the future?
Well, we're still at the early stages of the relationship between the two clubs, but all of the commercial people from FC Midtjylland have been over to visit us here at Brentford, and Mark and Kurt and all of our guys and Alan all went over to Midtjylland for a game in December and took the opportunity to look around the stadium, talk to their counterparts, and there's now a regular dialogue going on between the two clubs to learn from each other and achieve the best of breed from both sets of operations. So that's very positive. There's lots of other things going on between the two clubs to ensure that we achieve the sort of success that we want, and there are things that are in the pipeline which I can't really talk about at the moment, but we will roll out certain aspects of working together over the next few months. The Midtjylland are currently in a midwinter break. They're 8 points clear at the top of the league, the Super League in Denmark, and they're obviously very focused on maintaining that lead and owning the Super League for the first time in their history. So they're actually on a winter, they're about to go on a winter break to Portugal on Sunday for some warm weather training, because if you think this is cold here, believe me, it's nothing on Denmark. It's really freezing out there. So they've got a week in the sun before they have a couple more matches to get ready for the start of the season again, which is for them is Monday the 23rd of February. Yeah, is there anything else?
No, that's fine, Cliff. Thank you very much. Question on the floor at the back, please, Kurt.
Hi,
Hi, I'm Nick, and it's a question to Mark, Devlin, I think, and Cliff. I'm very proud to be a Brentford fan. I think I'd be even prouder if the club were to agree to sign up to the living wage initiative that a number of other London football clubs have agreed to do. I wondered if you could comment on whether we can see, as Brentford fans, the club paying a living wage to all its employees and its subcontractors, etc.
Very interesting. That actually came up at today's board meeting, so I'll pass it over to Mark.
We're trying to reduce the cost of all our staff. We're trying to reduce all their wages. just in case Frank finds a couple of players, to be fair. It's a serious subject, and it was raised, actually today was the second board meeting it's been raised. We're just currently I think we subscribe to the fact that we'd like to pay our staff London living wage. Before we go rushing into it, I need to understand the financial effect that has on the organisation, because obviously it will increase costs. But the idea, I think, is to introduce it at some stage, whether it's later in this financial year or if it's at the start of a new financial year. But we are undertaking to do that. Personally speaking, I totally agree that we should do that. I think it's only right and proper that we pay people a living wage in this particular part of the country. So it's something that's under consideration. My gut feel is that we will introduce it at some point during the year.
Thank you, Mark. Anybody else on the floor? Kirk, can we see? Got to say at this juncture, we'll come to you in just a moment, but what is very, very noticeable, by this time, when we normally have a fans forum, the manager has been actually inundated with questions about this, that and the other. I'm sure every one of you is sitting there, like I am, absolute bursting with pride with what's happened this season, the last year or so. And I'll say, it just proves it tonight. And like a lot of people here, a lot of old people here like me, I've been watching Brentford for 60 years, and I have to say, and I'm sure everyone will say the same for the years that they've been watching, this year the quality of football is second to none. It's the best I've ever seen, and I have to say I'm in a very lucky position. I'm a Brentford fan all my life. I'm in a very lucky position to be at the training ground and see the players every day and see the management team and the people who work around the management team day in, day out. And the pride I have just watching them. And when you see the quality on a match day, I'm fortunate enough to see that quality day in, day out on the training pitch. So, as I say, I just wanted to say that it's really noticeable tonight. There are very few questions. I'm sure there can be loads now, but up to now it's a testament to where we are. So thank you very much, everybody on the top table and the other staff. Kurt, this gentleman there, whoever's got the microphone, and then it'll be you, sir.
Hi, my name's Callum. Just wondering how Coutinho is progressing. Are we likely to see him in the first team this season?
That's a question also asked by Jordan at Brentford, Nugara. There we are, so a good company.
Coutinho, we know Coutinho, Frank and I knew him from the Next Generation tournament, the Sport of Lisbon. He's come in, he's a great kid, he's learned English quickly, he's embraced the culture and he's well liked by the squad. As Frank touched on earlier, the level of the first team has gone up to the roof in terms of the quality of players we can now attract. I was talking to Kevin O'Connor the other morning, speaking about 2 or 3 years ago, players in the squad. Now we're in a situation last week where people like Marcus Tabar or Nick Poshvitz were not included. 2 or 3 years ago, I'm sure they'd be first choice. Tommy Smith is training outstandingly well, day in, day out. Would have walked into any team, I'm sure, Tommy. But again, he has to be frustrated and be patient to get in the team. Coutinho's got to be better than Andre Gray, Tommy Smith, Sam Saunders, John Terrell. Another name, John Terrell. How's John not playing? You know, 5 or 6 games outstandingly well, 19 years of age. He wants to play football. We're desperate, David and I, Frank, to try and get him in the team. But as I say, Coutinho's a great kid, but where do I fit him in at the moment? There's Alan Cormack coming back. There's Lewis McLeod coming in. Scott Hogan's getting fit and well. So we've got players coming back, and it's a tough call. And Coutinho is at the moment is suffered because of that. But he trains well every day, and as I say, we'll get to the stage where he'll want football. But at this moment in time, I'm not sure how I can give it to him.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Gentleman in front. Take the microphone. Thank you.
Now, Peter probably recognises me. It's John Barr.
Yeah.
I can advance on Peter's length of memory of attending Brentford, because I've almost clocked up 70 yees now, or will have passed 70 years by the time we get to Lionel Road. So I've seen many eras of Brentford, from the old First Division all the way down to the bottom and back again. But this has been one of the most exciting and prideful eras that I can remember. And it also is reflected when I belong to other groups and talk to other people. When I mention Brentford, they don't say who and all the rest of it. They say, great, you know, can we come with you sometime and all the rest of it. And recently at the anniversary dinner, I took a chance and booked a table and more or less filled it straight away. And for the sporting dinner coming up, booked a table again and had people clamouring, all oldies who've not been to Brentford for donkey's years, coming out of the woodwork and wanted to join in the atmosphere. And so, you know, it's a very proud time for the oldies such as me, really, and for the rest of my family spread around the world who still follow the club. One small point I would mention is that in the past I've had the pleasure of seeing centre-backs and other defenders scoring quite a few goals. I haven't seen so many from our current squad. They've been defending very well, but not converting from set pieces or other times, apart from a casual flash of Dean. Thank you.
David.
I think that's a good point, and it's definitely an area of improvement that we need to be better at. We speak about it, and it's all sort of compromise. It's all about, you know, filling the team full of players who play the style we want to play, and you know, we speak a lot about playing short corners and playing quick free kicks, and you know, looking at that aspect of the game. So you know, we don't want to fill the team with people who are excellent at set pieces but aren't fantastic football players. So it's just getting the balance right. There's no doubt about it, we need to be better at set pieces, and we talk to the defenders week in, week out about being good in both boxes, scoring in the opposition box as well as defending well in our own box. So that is definitely an area we need to improve on, and it's always good to, you know, have areas where you can be better.
Thanks, David. Just take one from wherever it's come from, social media, from James Hunt. I want to know if it'd be possible to sell away tickets by preference, to stand at the back and sit at the front. Maybe Mark?
You might have to run that one by me again, please.
Yeah, they want to know if it's possible when you sell away tickets, if you could sell them so people who want to stand at the back can buy the tickets at the back, and those who want to sit and don't want to have people standing in front of them can buy them near the front, rather than, I think, progressive.
More often than not, we have to follow the instructions given to us by the visiting team, or by the team that we're visiting, and we have to sell them in a certain order, whether it's certain blocks that we have to sell first, and it will all be done on health and safety. So we really don't get a lot of say in how we're able to sell tickets when we're away from home. So unfortunately, that's one that we're kind of snookered a little bit by the teams that we go to.
Thank you, Mark. Questions at all? Yes, that gentleman there. Thanks, Gary.
Hi, my name's Caleb. Just on the Norwich game, it'd be interesting to get a perspective from the guys that were down at the touchline. I was in the home end for that, and the negativity that their fans were displaying, I thought was quite shocking. I haven't seen that for a while, and particularly when they were kind of making comments about the substitutions and the changes that were made, I found it, you know, quite disgusting, to be quite honest with you. How did you see that from your side, and is that something that, you know, you see regularly, or was that an exceptional thing? I don't think I've seen it, but it seemed very strange.
I've got to say, we get a ton of abuse. Quite genuinely, I can't tell you how many things we were called, David and I, during the course of that game, but I can't repeat too many tonight. But no, I think it's a big club. I think it's a big club with big expectations. Cliff mentioned earlier about the size of budgets, etc. It's packed with international players, many of whom have played at Premier League level. So the expectation is so high, and that's the problem, I think, for any manager and coach going in, is to deal with that weight of expectation. You look at Wolves last year. For me, Kenny James did a fantastic job because of the expectation of the crowd, dealing with the big time players he had on the books and the wage bill, etc. So it's a tough one. I was surprised, as you say. I was surprised that they turned so quickly. There were lots of comments about the substitutions, and the manager's been in place for 2 weeks. Less. I passed the mic to David as well. David's got a lot of experience to deal with these level of clubs, but I was very, very surprised. And as I say, it was nice to. One nice bit was to get the abuse taken away from us and go somewhere else.
I think it's a sign of how well we're doing. I think that it's a compliment to us. I like getting abuse because I think it tells that we're doing something right. And we went there, we went to Norwich, big budget, Premier League last year, and we completely outplayed them. So that, I mean, why wouldn't they be unhappy with that? They see us as little Brentford, and you know, in my opinion, you know, watching the game and being involved in it, we thoroughly deserve to win at their ground. And even the game here, when we played them, I thought we were the better team and lost 3-0. And you know, we were preaching that to the players that, you know, we did play really well. It just, the luck went against us. So it was nice to go there and put on a similar type performance but get the right result. But football, that is the industry of football. You know, in my career at Rangers, thinking back, if it was 0-0 at Rangers at half time, you got booed off. That goes with the territory, and they're the standards you want. You want to have high standards where you expect to win every week. The fans demand you every week, demand every week that you do win. And you know, some players like that, some managers like that, some managers like to, you know, the expectation whereby they've got to perform every week. And you know, the best players usually are the ones who like that and who enjoy that and rise and meet the challenge. But you know, sometimes you find out that some players don't like that, or you know, some people, you know, don't like that, and that sometimes is find out that they're not the people for you.
I should add that we chatted to some of the Norwich fans sitting just in front of the director's box. They were also very unhappy. But I should say that I spoke to a few of the Norwich fans after the game, and every single one of them, without fail, said that we were the best team they'd seen. And you can understand their frustration. Big club like Norwich, small club like Brentford, we go there and we murder them, and naturally they're going to be very, very disappointed. But they were very magnanimous in saying how great we were, which was really very nice.
Just one point I did mention. I think not talking for supporters, if you see players give 100%, there'll be days when you can't pass water, quite frankly. That's how the game works. But if you see them give 100%, so if you look at a player, for example, Alan Judge, when we played the first game at Middlesbrough, they comment David to say wasn't at his best in terms of distribution of the ball, but never stopped, tireless running from first to last minute. I think if supporters see that from the players, then I think you'd accept that there'll be bad days at the office. I think sometimes on the grounds we go to, when there's players who don't give 100%, that's when the crowds turn really quickly. I'm not saying Norwich did that, I'm just saying I think that's a key element.
Thank you, gentlemen. Go, gentleman at the front. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
I'd just like to say it's Nigel. I think it's just great that when you watch Brentford, I think everyone knows what you're trying to do. Everyone knows what the objectives are. Everyone appreciates the style. And compared to, say, 15, 20 years ago, when I'd go home really thoroughly miffed, thinking, why did I spend that? And I've been doing it for 36 years. Now, even if we happen to lose due to a dodgy penalty decision or whatever, I'll go home proud as punch and thinking this is an absolute joy to watch. And my daughter can certainly back that up. She's bringing loads of her friends with her. And I think we're building a massive new fan base because of the way we play, and I think it's a testament to you guys. I think that's fantastic.
Well, I'm sure we'll take another question on the floor in a moment, but there's a question here from Bartek Sienko. So, will Brentford Football Club benefit financially from anything built at Lionel Road, Chris, or on the site at Griffin Park? So will Brentford benefit financially from anything built at Lionel Road, or indeed here on the site at Griffin Park? Thank you.
The short answer is yes, in that the stadium cost for all the infrastructure, the stadium, all the fixtures and fittings, is going to be in the order of £70 million. And if I was to ask Matthew Bennett for £70 million, he'd have to take money away from the playing budget, and that would not go down well with these guys at the top table. So the way we're financing the bulk of the cost of the stadium is by building housing around Lionel Road, and also by putting family housing on Griffin Park. I've actually seen the first designs for the housing at Griffin Park, and they will be going out to public consultation in the next few months. So the benefits are that there will be a big financial injection from the sale of housing from Griffin Park, which will go directly into the stadium. Also at Griffin Park there will be a memorial garden, so we have insisted that there will be a memorial garden which will reflect the fact that Brentford Football Club played here for 100 years. And there will be a space that we have designated which our development partners will deliver. It won't be a centre spot, but it will be a memorial garden.
Fantastic, thank you, Chris. While we wait to get the microphone to Billy again, there's a question here. With a relatively small first team squad, how do you see the players maintaining fitness in the later stages of the season? Who would like to take that?
David and I. Firstly, thank you for the very nice comments. That type of question highlights the role of the whole support network. So we have a relatively small squad. I think it's right. I think David and I, frankly, would like to keep it that way because you have to keep players happy. And there's only so many frustrated players that you can carry at one time. Keeping them fit is down to the work by the medical conditioning department. They do a fantastic job, day in, day out. Neil Gregg, Darryl Martin, Richard Clark on the medical side, Matt Springham, etc. do fantastic work, and they work closely with David and myself and all the coaching staff. Every morning we meet, as Peter will tell you, to go through the case for each individual. They're loading in training. They have their heart rate monitors on every single day. We can tell you now how hard they worked today, how far they ran, how many accelerations, how many decelerations. You could say there's a case where sports science is taking over football, but that's the way the game's going. And the more information you get from the science department, the better the welfare of the players. And we look after, as I say, day in, day out. It's a tough season, and we have to recognise that. And we do get some really good data, and as I say, it helps us. We can see who needs to be taken out the firing line and who can have a rest. But what does help us are the international breaks. So the next one's coming at the end of March. That allows us to give the players 4 or 5 days off. They work really hard for 2 or 3 days up to then have 4 or 5 days off. And it sounds a short period of time, but it does a fantastic job in helping them repair and recover. Is that comment, David?
Yeah, I think it is. I think all of these things play a part, but for me the biggest thing is, as the manager said, about you having players, not having too big a squad, so everybody's got a pathway into the first team. Everybody can see an opportunity to get in the first team. See the way the first team plays, the demand energy, the demand fitness, the demand, of each other. We, as a staff, demand that they fundamentally they run around, which is is what the fans want to see. They want to see players trying for the club, and I think I was looking at some stuff today without boring you about numbers, but we are one of the fittest teams in the league. There's no doubt about that. You can see that from the way we play. We go to the end of games. At the end of the first half we're strong. At the end of the second half we're strong. And that comes from the environment that the manager's created, because he demands from them every day. He demands from them physically and he demands from them mentally, so that when Saturday comes around they're ready to do what wins games. So the physical side of it is a big thing, but I also genuinely believe that the motivation side of it's a big thing as well, and a big credit for that goes to the manager for the environment that he's created.
Thanks, David. Thank you, Mark. Billy.
Thanks, Peter. We talked a bit earlier about little old Brentford, and also we talk about the way that we do different things differently to other clubs, thinking out of the box, buying our players differently, so on and so forth. And again, going back to the Norwich thing, but we can talk about any of these other big teams we're talking about. We've got these teams that pay players. I mean, like Norwich apparently had players on 35, 40 grand a week. They go and buy players for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 million, whatever it may be. I mean, I know they may have been in the Prem, but still we got that situation, and obviously there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of cost with them. Brentford don't operate like that at the moment, but will we ever get to the situation, do you think, where all of a sudden we're having to buy players for 10, 15 million and pay them 40, 50 for 50 grand a week? Because traditionally that's not Brentford style.
Frank?
It's always market forces, and it depends where you are, and if we're in League One, definitely not. Championship, definitely not going to spend £10 million on a player, I suspect. But if you go to the Premiership and you need a striker, and you know, it really depends where you are. At the moment, I think we've done our business really well. The owner has backed everything. He's heavily involved in everything that we do, and we're sensible, and we're in a good position. You know, I think we're quite happy where we are, 2 points off the top, coming up to February, and the squad and the money we've spent on that squad, I think, is very, very good business. At the moment, I don't see us spending £10 million on a player, but who knows in the future? You know, we have to compete. If you end up getting 100 million to go into the Premiership, you have to compete with players like, you know, Costa, who costs a lot. You know.
Sorry about that, everybody. Across the world.
You know, players are on £200,000, and we're competing against that eventually, and that is our aim to get there. I know this owner will, you know, back what we're trying to do, but we'll always do sensible deals. We're not going to throw money at players that we don't think are the right type. You know, and what makes me so proud is the work rate of the players that we have. You know, we say no to players who can be sometimes really, really skillful players, but if they don't work the socks off, I know for a fact, I'll never say to Gaffer and to David, you know, have a look at this player, not a chance, because I know they'll say no. You know, our fans don't accept players who don't work hard for them. We're a family club, a normal club, and we want, you know, we work hard, you work hard, and we want the players to work hard. So that's the sort of player we're always looking for, and I think, you know, we're really happy with what the business that we've done over the last sort of 18 months. But there is always players out there that we will spend money on.
Thanks for answering. Just quick back up to the question as well. And I mean, I think Brentford do absolutely brilliant business on the pitch. The way that we do it, business is absolutely fantastic. The thing that always worries me though is that, and what I don't understand is, teams go up to the Premier League and they end up spending this big money, wages and transfer fees, and then they get dropped down to our league, and then they start crying, saying, "Oh my God, you know, we can't help it. We've got this player, you know, Doyle, on 40 grand a week at Wolves in Division 1. Is there any way of, you know, of making contracts so that you can actually ensure that that doesn't happen? Because to me, it doesn't really make sense. If you're doing well in the Premier League, fair enough, you get the wages, but surely if you drop, the club should be able to back that up so they can actually not be so much in trouble. Is that something that we do?
Yeah, spot on. We always put clauses in if we go to League One, all the new contracts that we do now, the wages of staff, of players will reduce. So we do the business properly. Also, if we go the other way and you go to the Premiership, the wages increase. So you know, I think the club is very well set up, very well run in this regard, and if, you know, we won't be paying 40 grand a week to someone if we're in the Championship.
Really, I think you've got to look at good examples as well. David and I and Frank talk a lot to Sean Dyche at Burnley. And that club's a good example. You know, they were under the radar. They were one of the 3 favourites to go down, get relegated, and in a year they got promoted. They kept their squad together. They kept the budget small, and they've gone up to the Premier League now, and they're investing the money in terms of training ground, facilities, etc. So they're doing really well. Look after their playing squad. They're holding their own in the Premier League, but they're really investing for the club for the future. So I think you can give examples of poor spending, but likewise there's good examples out there as well.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Billy.
Just a question for Mark. You hear about there's so many managers getting sacked these days. If a high-flying club came in for you, and the club give you permission to talk to them, or are you here for the long haul?
Well, the first part of your question, apparently I'm overdue now. It's 315 days, so I could be gone by the weekend. It's not that. We're committed, the people here are committed to the project, and you never know. You never know what goes on. I don't mean that in a negative way at all. That's human life. People say never, but the fact is that I could screw up, or we could all screw up as a football department, and you could find yourself out of a job in 3 months' time. That's the nature of the beast. I think there's an article in the Sun that 360 days, 357 days is the average tenure. 16 managers in the Championship have gone already this season, which is scandalous. And there'll be 2 or 3 more to go, we all know that, before the end of the season. So you could have 19, 20 out of 24 have gone. So it doesn't fill me with confidence. I've been here now 4 years, 4 years in February. So as I said, there's a lot of work gone on, and we've been, really good people at the club. Here at Griffin Park, at the training ground, some really top people who are focused on taking the club forward. So it's nice to be part of that.
I'm committed to answer the questions here. Next one is, will the club be offering Mark Warburton a long-term contract? Cliff. And that's from the Beats blog.
Well, you've all said tonight what a wonderful job Mark and the team are doing, and we on the board heartily endorse that. We're as chuffed as you are the way the club is playing and the way we're performing, and we will sit down at the end of the season with Mark and evaluate the position, see where we are, but we're absolutely committed to retaining Mark as manager of this club, because we think he's doing an absolutely superb job. But I remember Mark saying only last year, I think it was, that he wouldn't stand in the way of someone, or 2 years ago, wouldn't stand in the way of someone who wanted to go somewhere else. And frankly, if one of the top 4 or 5 clubs came in for Mark, and I say that because I think he's done such a fantastic job that we shouldn't discount that could happen. Let's be honest, he is one of the best, if not the best manager outside of the top 3 or 4 in this country. I think he's proved that in the last 12 months.
That's very kind of Cliff, and he knows I appreciate those comments, but I don't want to repeat myself here, but it's a team job, and the gentlemen all on the table here, David and Frank, work tirelessly, and without these guys nothing's done. It's really important that I won't bore you with this one, but people talk about the manager because they're the one that get sacked or they get all the praise and whatever. It's about the team. It really is about the team, and David Hall should be the first to say, and Frank, that the medical team, analytical team, the best kit man in the business, etc. The support we receive from people here at the board and Griffin Park, Matthew obviously. Without that support, we're nowhere near as strong as we are now. So as I say, it is an all-round team effort. So the praise is taken for the team, and it's very much appreciated. But as I say, please don't underestimate the work that goes on behind the scenes by a number of people.
And obviously we see all that, and I can only endorse what Mark says. The team behind him are fantastic, and I think they know they're fantastic, and we know they're fantastic. So our job is to try and keep all of that going, and at the moment we're doing a pretty good job, so long may it continue.
Thank you very much, Cliff. Thank you, Mark. If you'd like to pass it to Mark, Mark Devaney, please, so kind. Next question is from Jack Brook, asking what limitations are put on us by the FFP rules, bearing in mind we have one of the lowest capacities and therefore attendances in the division?
Creative accounting always comes to mind. And just to the last point, I can confirm that Mark has now been put on London Living Wage. And Frank is on Liverpool Living Wage, so we'll make a saving there. I'm here all week. I've got to say that we, as a club, we look to adhere to FFP. It's very challenging because not only is the ground small, but we struggle to raise revenue away from match days. It's fair to say that we generate very, very, very little revenue from Griffin Park away from the match days itself. Clearly, that's a big factor behind the move to Lionel Road. But you've alluded to it earlier. We think smartly. We try and that Frank works incredibly hard along with all the other guys there to bring players in. He works smart. We don't always pay the biggest wages. There's a team ethic about the place. Mark keeps team harmony by making sure that we pay wages that are fair across the team, that we don't create cliques within the squad, and it's something that's very, very dear to Mark, and that whole team ethic and the strength of the changing room, I think, has been one of the big factors in our success this year. So FFP, we have to just abide by it and do our best to raise as much revenue as we can and generate as much. That's why it's so important for us to fill the stadium as often as possible. And that comes back to the question earlier about marketing and building the fan base. Our biggest opportunity at the moment is to obviously keep these 5-figure gates coming, 11, 12,000. There will be nearly 12,000 here again on Saturday, and that's a crucial part for us. So cash generation is limited, but we're working hard to do it, and it does make life difficult. That's when some clubs in the division can get 30,000, and the revenue that goes along with that, and the non-match day revenue that goes with that. But we just have to think smart, and we're lucky that we've got a group of people here that are very good at doing that.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions from the floor? Yeah, if you can, Kurt, across to John Barr again, then down to Libby.
Just a point about the training ground. There's been some fantastic developments there, and you've got all the resources. But could something be considered for probably spectator or use? Because try to see the development squad arrivals at times, and if there was a small stand or some other facility, refreshments and other things, it would probably encourage a little more interest on those games and encourage those players who are trying to get back in the main squad or make an improvement.
Really, it's down to planning. The ground isn't our own. Just to put the porter cabins in that we've got there at the moment, we're going through the process of the sort of retrospective planning at the moment. So as it's not our own ground, it would be lovely, as Chelsea have got at Cobham, a small stand there that's covered where a few spectators can come in undercover and watch the games. We are looking to create a little bit of a show pitch effect on the main training pitch up at Jersey Road, but it is very difficult to do that at present, I'm afraid. We spent a lot of money over the past couple of years putting in temporary accommodation there. A long-term part of the strategy is for us to, if we can't do any more and get a longer lease at Jersey Road, is to obviously look at our own ground, which would allow us to, our own training ground, which would allow us to look things such as a small terrace area or seating area that fans could use. But at the moment, it's very difficult for us to do that, I'm afraid.
Thank you, Mark.
Hi, I'm Simon. Thanks, guys, for doing the forum again. It's always a good night. Firstly, I've got how many questions am I allowed, Peter? Got a few.
And that was it.
That's it. Right, okay. First one, Mark Warburton. How Marcus Tabar, is it a similar situation with Patino?
It is. Marcus played nearly 30 La Liga games, is that right, Frank? Yeah. Last year. A very talented player, technically gifted player, fantastic individual in terms of his application day in, day out. Fluent now English, he's embraced the language. So I can't speak high enough of him as a person. His job is now to displace Tumani Diagoraga, or Douglas, or Judge, or Pritchard, or Terrell. and that's not said. Marcus is a very high quality player, and he knows what David and Frank and myself think of him from the football department's perspective. But that's the reality. It's a tough. Everyone talks about the footballer's way of life as being a very glamorous lifestyle and a great way of life. It's hard when you're not playing, and those guys want to play football and they train hard every day. But it's important. Frank mentioned earlier about the squad size, and they can see a pathway to the first team. So right now, no one wants anyone to get injured, but Marcus is looking for that route back into the first team, because I think you all agree that Tumani and Dougie have been performing, and the midfield in general has been outstanding for us. They work their socks off, and all credit to the players. So it's tough for Marcus right now, but as I say, can't be high enough of him as a person, and he'll keep on fighting.
And your final question?
Any plans for a pre-season tour anywhere, or is that depending on what league we're in?
Yeah, we had a really good trip last year, in terms, not for the fans, I don't mean in a bad way. It was a 10-day no-game training camp. It was a heads down and work hard, 3 sessions a day. And credit to the medical team and conditioning team, they came back fit and had to start to the season. We're looking to go back stateside, but this time try to incorporate 2 friendly fixtures is what we're looking to do. So David, Frank, myself, and obviously Cliff, Mark, we're all talking to the various contacts over there. We've got two games in mind, 2 teams on the East Coast, but again it's important to get the right games at the right time. So people say, will you play an MLS team? They're in the middle of their season. You don't really want to go with their second warm-up game and play a team who are flying in the middle of their season. So it has to be right for Brentford, no one else. And I understand the commercial, financial implications and making sure they fit into the cost. FFP means we have to look at the cost of the tour, but can we raise revenue via the 2 games? That will be the plan, and do as much of the cost covered as possible.
Thanks, Simon. Thank you, Mark. Libby.
Who do you think, player-wise, has improved the most? Personally, I think Button, especially with his save last week.
I think that's a really good question, and the aim of us as coaches is to try and improve everyone. And you could make a case for David Button, you could make a case for Moses, the player he's become. You could make a case for Andre Gray, who, when he came in from non-league football and now being Championship Player of the Month relatively recently and looking like he can score in every game at a really good level of football. You can talk about Jonathan Douglas, how well he's done this season. You could Tumani recently. I think it's you could really go throughout the whole squad, and you're missing players out, and I'm sure I haven't mentioned some that I should be mentioning, but I think again it's just testament to the team and the environment, that it's a learning environment. It's an environment where players get an opportunity to improve, and that's hopefully going to be a big thing for us for in the future, attracting the right players who want to come here and get a stage where they can get better.
I agree with you, Liv. I really think David Button's done absolutely brilliant. You go through the whole squad. Well, you've had previous managers here that players have played under, and they haven't got the same sort of games out of. You look at Tumani at the moment, for me, it's been absolutely incredible. And with Tumani, I look at it and why, as a director of football, I look at, well, why has he come on? And it's basically from the environment that we are all creating at the club. There's no blame culture. You never see Wolves or David screaming at the players because they do something wrong. You can't do that. We've come through football a long time, the three of us, and you have to encourage. Certainly when you've got young players, you're trying to get better. You're trying to get into the team ethos of what we try to do. Manager is massive in that. With this manager, Tumani has done it himself, because if he doesn't want to do it, he's not going to be a player. He's really done it himself. But I've got to give credit to the manager for Tumani for making him relaxed, making him feel part of the squad. Not killing him if he does something wrong. And that's the way we do things at Brentford at the moment.
How's that, Libby? Okay? Excellent. At the back.
We've played all the teams in the league so far this season, so which 2 teams do you think are the strongest that we've played against? That's for the management team.
Good question. I think I'll be boring here. I think Derby are impressive. We had a good result here, but I think they're a very strong squad and very unfortunate last year. Middlesbrough, we use it, David, myself use Middlesbrough's second half as a positive in terms of we let our standards slip and we got punished by 4, and it could have been 6 or 7 that day. So hopefully we learn from that and move forward from that point, but that's something we always refer back to week in, week out. We've got them Saturday. I hope very much I'll see a different Brentford side here at Griffin Park. So Derby, Middlesbrough, also Derby behind that. Bournemouth, we said we played them early on. We said they were the top 6 team. I think we've been proven right there. They're going to be there or thereabouts come May the 2nd. But there's what amazes me is top can be bottom or vice versa any one weekend. And you look at the fixtures, and you look at the Championship fixtures, how hard is it to predict 4 or 5 results? So this weekend we look at Watford and Bournemouth. You look at Cardiff playing Derby. You look at our game in Middlesbrough, and they keep throwing up these various, highlighted fixtures, and it's tight. It's really tight. But I think at the end of the season, come May the 2nd, you'll see Bournemouth, Derby, and Middlesbrough in the mix.
Behind us.
Yes.
Okay, we've got a couple more questions here. What's the from Ian Blacken? Whose idea is it to leave 2 or 3 players up when defending corners? Good question, isn't it? Yeah. Thanks, Ian. It's one of these two, gentlemen.
That's David and I. That we think it's about being positive. We're not blessed with 11 6'5" players. You play some teams and you look at the physicality, and we'll sit there and read across the back line and go, the goalkeeper's 6'5", 6'4", 6'2", 6'4". That's not Brentford, you know. So what we give up in terms of physicality, we gain in terms of technical expertise on the football. So you look at the likes of Jota and Pritch and Judgy, etc., and players of that ilk. John Terrell, very comfortable on the football. So for us to be positive, we look to counter. We want to give our defenders and our goalkeeper room to dominate their own area, and that's our thinking. You know, whether we leave 1, 2, 3, 4 up, it's us hopefully being positive, but it comes from David, myself, and the coaching team, rightly or wrongly.
Thank you, Mark.
I'd just like to ask Mark a little bit about the central defence, and just to get some idea about your thinking. Obviously, you've got 3 really good players in there with Tarks and Harley and Tony Craig as well, and they see the play slightly different ways, but it seems as if that Dean and Tarkowski are sort of gelling a bit now. But it's quite difficult to get into I suppose a settled pattern until you actually play them, so it's a bit of chicken and egg. But what's the sort of the thought process going forwards about your preferred lineup, or at least what you're looking for from the central defence?
I'll pass this question to David in a minute, because obviously world-class centre half, David can give you his impression. But I think we've got 3 players, as you rightly say. Tony Craig gives us natural left-sided balance. He's a left footer, great experience, and Tony will run through a brick wall for anyone. So all credit to Tony. And right now he's frustrated not to be playing. Harley's been in that position this season, as has James Tarkowski, who missed 7-8 games. So they've all found it hard, but hopefully it's been character build. They've learned from it. They've been frustrated. I'm not really answering your question here, but I will pass it. I'll pass the mic to David in a second. But I think for me, we deal with the situation. If we have a very strong physical opponent, maybe more comfortable with Tarky and Harley in terms of the height. But Tony will definitely give that natural left foot balance. If we want to play out for that way, no hesitation using Tony at any time.
I would say as well, I think, it's been a really good example of what the sort of environment here whereby, the best 2 players play, and if they do well to stay in the team, you could make a case for any pairing really, and at different stages of the season. Tony got sent off, so he learned a lesson, he missed a few games. James got too many bookings, so he missed a few games, and the lads would come in. If they come into the team, they do well to stay in the team, and I think that's a great environment. The players who go out the team, have still got a pathway back into the team, which is obviously really important. They're never too far away, so they can see that they're obviously not happy to be in the team, but they know it's not, it's touchable, the distance to actually get back into the team. So I think having good options, and they've each got their qualities, and on a game by game basis, you weigh that up, and we talk about that regularly, all the time, who the best pairing is for the opponents they're going to play. But I think it's a good environment whereby if you earn the right to get in the team, you do well, then you stay in the team, and knowing that that's the same for you when you get your chance in the team. I think that's that's really important for a football club.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Dave. We take one more question from the floor, and then I've got one question for the whole panel to end up the evening. One more question for the floor, gentlemen.
Hi, my name's Dave. Just a quick question for Frank, actually, with regards to transfers. When you're looking at sort of scouting the networks for new players, sort of how do you go about that business? Do you buy players off the back of stats? Because Mark was saying earlier about they know how far the players run, and they know pretty much everything about them now. So when you're looking into players, how do you actually go about doing that? Finding the best player for the team.
Yeah, we do a lot of homework on the player. We watch the players live. We watch them, maybe 10-15 times on the computer. With a lot of our scouting is done in the office, is office based. We will go and watch them live, and the best one is really when we can get the manager or David or myself. We'll generally watch the last few games to make sure that we're all happy with it. we used a lot of information that we have from a lot of places. You know, it's you can get stats from, we have Instats, we have Scout 7, we have a lot of information on, you know, even from, we'll speak to people about a player, we like to know their background, and I'll speak to previous managers, what are they like as a person, are they married, do they have kids, do they, you know, anything that we can find out we'll put into the pot, and then we'll decide, and there's a lot of people involved in the scouting of the player. There'll be, you know, everyone in the scouting department. Matthew's involved a lot, the owner, which is quite rightly so. He's spending a lot of money, and he's very good at the information that he will come up for us as well, and mainly the staff. You know, we need to be happy that it's the right sort of player that we're looking at. You know, we don't want a centre midfield player who can't pass the ball. You know, some teams are not happy with the ball, and they'll have 6'5", as Wob said, and be great at set plays and do a lot of things that way. So they'll work hard on that side of the game. We want real footballers in our team. We want ones who are going to work hard, have got a good touch, hopefully can use 2 feet. So that's all the things we look at. We look at information from everywhere.
Thank you, Frank. Right, we're going to come to the last question, which I'm going to pose to everyone on the panel, but I want to apologise to a few people down the line who've not heard their questions answered. Chaz Briggs, Tim Smith, Link Luke, Louis Adriano, Matthew Brandon, Alex Mayers and Chris Horrocks, and I'm sure there's a few more as well. The final question is going to be, I'm going to ask each of you, I'm going to start with David, if you've been so kind. What has been your favourite moment this season?
Well, that's a really good question as well. Hopefully favourite moments yet to come, to be honest. That's how I see it. I think you don't look back in football, you always look to the future, and I think, you know, we say to the players all the time that they gave themselves a fantastic opportunity to, you know, to be in a position now going into February where we're competitive at the right end of the table. We've got a balanced squad, we've got a settled squad, we've got, you know, a good dynamic within the squad. So I think, you know, hopefully the best moments yet to come. But I just think with, you know, football's all about looking forward and, you know, and wanting more and being a little bit greedy. So I think, you know, rather than looking back and patting yourself in the back, I think it's about pushing yourself on a little bit more.
We all going to get a clap.
I'll
have to think of something good. Genuinely, my favourite moment was I was in South America going to watch a game, and we managed to get the streaming of the Wolves game at home, and Andre Gray scoring that goal, and it was so funny that I was jumping up and down in this cafe where I was watching the streaming for like the 2 goals, and then when Andre scored his, it stopped streaming, and just as he was going to shoot it stopped streaming, I thought, oh well, he won't have scored from there, and then it came on again and he was in the crowd like that, and that was unbelievable moment. So that's been the best one for me. But we're really, you know, seeing the players progress is massive for us, and a lot of them have done that this season, but really enjoyed it. No clap.
This is a tough one. This is probably sounds a bit obscure. The first home game to Charlton and the equaliser, Tommy, I think was vitally important. The players probably had a little bit of a lack of belief. Do we belong at the level? Are we good enough at the level? Are we fit enough at the level? And we saw Charlton at the time, not in a disrespectful way, but we thought that would be a decent opening game, and we were 1 down with 5 to play. So I think the fact that we got that equaliser, the reaction of the crowd, the reaction of the players, gave them a lot of self-belief. And I say for me, that's a vitally important moment.
Luckily, I've had a minute or 2 to think about it, and my favourite moment of the season was when Jota scored the 3rd goal at Cardiff. That was the most fantastic 45 minutes, apart from it being a brilliant goal, but it was just a fantastic half of football where we were just sublime, and for me
topped off the half, and obviously a quality goal from a quality player. So that's my favourite.
I thought Cliff had stolen my thunder there. Okay, so it's no secret that I was brought up as a supporter of the team from Shepherd's Bush up the road. So unlike the gentleman here who's talking about his 70 years of support, but when Hotter scored the winner against Fulham, and I just to look around at the emotion of the crowd and what happened when because the players came over to almost directly in front of the director's box to see what that meant, and suddenly the club was back on the map. All those years of having to listen to Fulham, no, give it to you, had been wrapped down their throat, and just to see the joy in the faces of the fans around was great. And I think for you guys, Brentford was back on the map, and you were really bursting with pride. So that's good.
Thank you, Mark. What about your best moment? My moment, I'm actually in the moment now. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming this evening. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for being here in New Brentford, whether you're in Newark, Newport, New York or New Zealand. Thank you very much for tuning in. But thank you everybody coming. Put your hands together one more time for the Green Team.
Thank you.